everybody. We're glad you could join us tonight. We have a really good number tonight and a lot more coming, we hope, so welcome. I'm Leah with the Alberta Leaders Caucus for Early Learning and Childcare and sort of with AECE. So welcome to our AECEA Connect tonight. Go ahead, Christy.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Christy Scarlett, and I sit on the board of AECEA, and not with the Alberta Leaders Caucus, in partnership with the Alberta Leaders Caucus. So welcome, everyone.
So we're happy you're here today. We'll just do a few introductions, and then we'll get to our lovely guest speakers tonight who will share their wisdom on that idea of care and compassion for ourselves, and sort of how to manage some of these stresses that just keep on coming. So just so you know, some of the technology details, those of you who have been with us before, this is very repetitive, I know, but just to keep everyone on the same page. We are recording, so the session will be available on AECEA's webpage with all the past sessions. We always put the recordings up there. It sometimes takes a couple of days just to get everything sorted out, but it does go up there. So it will be there. So there will be times during the presentation where we'll ask for feedback or to answer questions, or ask if you have questions. So you can use your hand up function, and we have to unmute you on our end, and then you may have to unmute yourself on your end. If you don't want to speak or you don't have a microphone available, you can use the question box or the chat box, and those questions come directly to organizers. Unfortunately, right now, this platform doesn't have an interactive chat, but us as organizers and presenters will get your questions, and we'll do our best to either answer them in there or read them out loud to answer them in the conversation. So do please remember, if you want to unmute, to put your hand up so that we know that you want to share with us. And just some reminders that this is meant to be a safe space, a sharing space, whoopsies, where we're here to support one another, to learn from one another. So we really require respectful feedback and prioritize that connection piece. And I know that our presenters, Julia and Carolyn, will set the stage for that really well. And the other thing, I know there's been lots coming out lately and people are looking for information, and we're gonna, I mean, as AECEA has a couple of updates and we'll share a little bit of that. We don't have all the answers, and we're not here to sort of provide a set of answers and guidelines. We're really here to share what we know, to hear from you what you know, to understand what's important to educators across the province, and to really just have that place for collaboration. So again, please use the question box to share ideas, resources, anything like that. So the first thing we want to know, we'll just take a minute to do this while we're all here. Since National Child Day was on the weekend, we want to hear what people did to celebrate. So I'm going to stop sharing this one, and I will share our little Menti, and you can tell us. So if you haven't used a Mentimeter before, once I share the slide, you'll see a little code on there. Oh dear. Sorry. The sharing is not the same as the other sharing. And as I was telling everyone before, I'm the worst at screen sharing. Okay, there we go. I did it. So you'll see the web address at the top, menti.com, and you put in the code, and then you can answer up, I think, at least 3 times, if not more, if you want to tell us many things you did. How did you celebrate National Child Day this year? So use whatever device you have handy and share with us how you celebrated National Child Day this year.
And we should see it pop up on the screen.
Yeah, we'll see it pop up as people answer.
Any activities or events that were happening? I know I sit on the National Child's Day committee for Calgary region, and so we put out a ton of videos, information. We had local businesses put out information as to why National Child's Day is important and what their business has to do with national or children's rights, and so it was quite interesting to see.
Cool.
Who's going to be the first one in there?
Woo! The ARC conference, awesome.
Yes. I'm sure it was very successful. I'm eager to hear about it. Oh, more.
Oh yeah, Medicine Hat, the teepee was blue. That's right.
Quality time with my
I will assume that will say children.
I think so too. Quality time doing anything is important.
More at the ARC conference, awesome. So it doesn't have to be, I mean, it can be something you did in your program or center, something you did on your own. Family time, spent time with kids. Wore blue with my kids. Awesome. Blue shirts.
Popcorn movie day. Nice.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sounds like children's choice to me.
I have somebody in the chat that said craft activities and another quality time with my kids and children at the daycare.
Oh, wonderful. I love that. I know in one of the schools last year, the kids were teaching me all about it and what their rights meant in it. So it was really neat to see that the CBE was teaching the children about it that day.
Awesome. So, I love that.
Yeah.
Book display, outdoor play. Wonderful.
Yeah. Children's art display. Peace dove. All staff wore millions. There must be a character limit, I think.
There usually isn't, but I wonder.
Yeah.
I think it's 25 letters I saw.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Dang.
Wore blue with my kids. Yes. I love the blue ribbons or the blue wristbands that we had at one point, and blue shirts.
And treat bags for kids in the chat.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Cool.
Hugs, yes. Hugs. Helping Hands poster. That sounds interesting.
Individual pictures.
Buy them foods. Yeah, celebration always comes with food. I know with my kids.
That's true. Definitely. All right, well, we'll leave that open so you can still add to it, even if I'm not sharing it to the screen. So if you have it open and you're still writing, feel free to add, and then that'll be one of the resources that we'll share out afterwards, just to have that sense of what we're all doing together and how we're all celebrating that. I always enjoy hearing from people what they did to celebrate National Child Day and how they were working with those things.
There's some pretty creative ideas.
All right, so we have some updates from AECEA, and I'm sure lots of you are curious about that. There's, of course, as we all know, lots going on lately. So I'll let Christy, as a board member of AECEA, kind of give you some updates on what's happening and where to find things.
Sounds good. Thanks, Leah. So it's right. It's been a rough couple of months. I describe it as an emotional roller coaster for sure. So recently, the early learning and childcare programs in Alberta expressed increasing concerns about the effects of the fourth wave of COVID-19, as you guys are all aware, and have probably expressed it yourselves, and what the future holds for them. To better understand these concerns, AECEA conducted a survey of ELCC programs in Alberta. 430 responses were received. That represents 28,000 spaces. That's pretty significant. And I think it was only out for 2 weeks at max. So this one-page summary was sent to the Ministry of Children's Services on Friday, November 5th, and then to the AECEA members on November 8th. A full report is being drafted and will be released soon, and you can see the link here for further details. Next, the federal and provincial child care agreement. So what we know so far, a summary has been posted on the website with the details of the agreement. The information was pulled from the press release and the town hall that the minister had held. Take a peek at the link and find out what it means for programs, educators, and families. There's the link below there for you to take a peek.
And I can put these links into the chat after as we go too, but they're pretty easy to find on sort of the main AC page. It's pretty easy to find those two specific things. So
Thanks, Leah. I guess continuing advocacy, it never stops. We're always kind of on that. So AECEA is waiting for further details on what the rollout of the agreement will look like, and recognize that there are pieces that were not included. So we've heard AECE wages is definitely one of those pieces that weren't included or weren't addressed. Out of school care is another one. So further advocacy is needed, and that's where we'll take our lead. AECEA meets regularly with the Children's Services, and we can assure you that we will continue to advocate for increased wages and support for all programs within the sector. Now, the minister did say, Mr. Schultz did say during her town hall that she was looking for feedback on how to implement the certain pieces. So pieces that weren't discussed or that she couldn't comment on further. So please take this email address down. If you have any ideas, she's listening. She wants to hear any kind of thoughtful suggestions that you guys have. So please take that and provide your insight as needed. And so I guess as the emotional roller coaster continues, I feel like we wait, we hear, we respond, we wait again, we hear, we respond. So to me, that with that emotional roller coaster comes stress, obviously. And so that's a good segue into introducing our special guests, Carolyn Porter and Julia Moore. Both of them are with the ASAP GRIT. They're both ASAP coaches, pardon me, and regional supervisors for GRIT. Both have worked in various roles in the field of ECE. Carolyn has been a childcare provider and director for 13 years, and Julia has been committed in the field for over 20 years. So we're so pleased to have them participate and share with us their knowledge on care and compassion. So we all know how critical it is to ensure we practice self-care and mindfulness in a field that we're constantly giving a piece of ourselves to others. But it's one thing to know that it's important, self-care. It's another thing to actually execute it. So they are going to be providing us with some tangible strategies that we can implement within our busy schedules so we don't have an excuse not to try them. So welcome, Carolyn and Julia. I'll let you guys take over.
Oh, you're muted, Julia.
We were just talking about being muted.
Starting off strong, that's what I'm here to do. I was just saying that I'm going to now figure out how to share my screen, which is going to be maybe causing me some stress that I might need to regulate through. But thank you so much for having us here today. Just one moment. All right, does anyone see? Awesome, that's amazing, it worked. Okay, let me just get situated here because I need to figure out how to get rid of these so I can actually see. All right, so it is not in presenter mode though, right?
No, it's not. Oh, there it is.
It is now.
Yeah. All right, and do you see my cameras too, or do you just see?
See your camera.
All right, awesome. All right, I think I got this. I think I got it going, guys.
Good job, Julia.
Good job. Thanks, Carolyn. Awesome. Thank you for the wonderful introduction, and we are so excited to be here tonight with you to kind of talk about self-care. Like was mentioned before, it's been kind of a wild ride for these last couple of years, and we've been challenged in ways that I feel like we, as a population, really haven't been challenged in before. And now we have more changes coming, so it's so important for us to take that time to really take care of ourselves as educators in the field. Okay, let's see if I can, there we go. All right, so this is us. We already had that wonderful introduction, and I don't feel like I need to say it again, but I am Julia Moore, and I am with the ASAP program, a regional supervisor for South Alberta and Calgary-based coach. And I'm joined by Carolyn. Did you want to pop on and say hi, Carolyn?
Hi, everybody. So yeah, I am a regional supervisor for the Northwest and the North Central area, and an ASAP coach as well. And yeah, I'm a mother of 2 children, one that's 8, who's very self-sufficient, and then a 2-year-old who's not so self-sufficient. So you may see him in the background. So welcome and thanks for coming.
Awesome, thanks, Carolyn. And so I'm not sure if you know about the ASAP program, but I thought I'd just take 2 seconds to kind of explain a little bit about who we are. We are a program that started in 2012, and ASAP stands for Access, Support, and Participation. We are funded by Children's Services, and we support childcare programs across the province in pyramid model practices, in inclusion. That includes a lot of different things, including relationships and targeted social emotional supports. We educate educators how to implement these practices in their programs with their children. And if you want any more information about us, you can feel free to go to our website, which is www.asapgrit.ca. And there's lots of resources and information on there. All right, so we are going to be talking a lot today about mindfulness, self-care, and a little bit about stress. So we are going to start with a bit of a calming practice to get us centered in this moment and ready to interact and really be present in the moment. So I would love for you all to do this activity with me right now. And just for you moving forward, this is a great activity to do to feel present as an adult. And it's also a great one to do with children. You might just need to modify it a bit depending on the age group of the children. So I would love it if everybody could just get comfortable where they are. If you're sitting, try to just feel comfortable. If you have a couch next to you, feel free to lay down. Just try to just calm your body and feel comfortable. And I would love it if we all together could just take a deep breath in through our nose, pausing at the top for just a second, and then out through your mouth. And in your mind, I would love for you to notice and think of 5 things that you see around you in your room right now. Just think to yourself, what are 5 things that I can see right now? Now I want you to think, what are 4 things that I can feel right now? That could be your feet on the ground, could be many things, but 4 things that you feel. Now let's think of what are 3 things that you can hear right now. Now 2 things that you can smell. And we're going to finish with 1 thing that you can taste. Thank you so much for taking that moment to really be present in your body and in your surroundings. And hopefully we're feeling a bit grounded to move forward. So as caregivers, it's crucial that we take care of ourselves. Showing ourselves care and compassion opens up space and gives us the patience that we need to be able to be there for the children and families that we care for. If we are regulated and calm, we are in turn able to see children and families in a positive light and help others regulate. So throughout the course of the next little bit that we're sharing this space together, we're going to be looking, as I said before, at mindfulness and stress, and hopefully you'll walk away with some great strategies that you can think about using in the future. And we love our presentations to be as collaborative and interactive as possible. It's a little bit challenging in this virtual world, but one of the things that we do is an activity that you just kind of did with Leah, which is a Menti. So what I would love for you guys to do right now is go to www.menti.com again, and then enter this code that's on the screen I want to ask for the code. And then I want to hear from you all. What does self-care and compassion mean to you? And I am going to try to continue to share my screen and get to this Menti. See if I can figure it out, guys. All right. All right, so once again, that's www.menti.com, and the code is 23884745. And we should start to see some answers coming in. So keeping yourself in a positive state, being safe, smiling, being relaxed, caring for oneself, healthy boundaries and work-life balance, taking time for yourself. Oh, I think that's a second taking time for yourself there. Lots of taking care of yourselves. That's awesome, with a positive mindset. Providing the time.
Julia, are you meaning to share the Menti screen?
I am, yes. Do you see it?
No, we only see the PowerPoint screen.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me know. Let's see if I can figure this out. Let's see. What about this?
That's better, Julia.
Ah, awesome. I could just read it, but now you can read it yourself too. Thank you so much. Awesome. So caring for yourself, nature, spending time with your dog, being healthy and happy, doing at least one thing a day that is only for you. That's a nice, like, tangible thing you can do. Showing yourself compassion by acknowledging when I need you extra time and space. Saying no, that's so hard. Practicing yoga, keeping a strength-based mindset for yourself and others. Amazing. Understanding boundaries and noticing triggers to stop you from being overwhelmed. Kindness, understanding boundaries, breathing. Amazing. I knew if I asked this question, there would be so many amazing, a wealth of things that we do to take care of ourselves every day. Cross-country skiing, that's amazing. Meditation, nature, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, everyone. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have great ideas of so many things that you can do to really take care of yourself. We all know this is easier said than done. But it's also so important to understand that we already have so much knowledge around this topic. It's really important to just be intentional about putting these into practice on a regular basis. So thank you so much for sharing, everybody. Now let's see if I can figure out how to get back to the other screen. No, I can do it, guys. No, I can't. Haha. Perfect. All right. Thanks for sharing. Okay, so we're going to change tracks a little bit. That was wonderful, all the sharing that you did around those strategies that you have already. And I just wanted to take a moment, and I think it's Laura who's going to be helping with the chat here. Is that right, Laura? I was hoping in the chat box that you guys could
put it in.
Pardon?
I can put it in, Julia.
Awesome. Thanks, Carolyn. So what does the word stress mean to you? When you hear that word stress, what's your first thought or a feeling that you have when you hear that word? Please enter it in the chat box, and hopefully we'll be able to see, somebody will see your responses.
Worked up, dysregulated, overwhelmed, annoyed, sleepless nights, being drained.
Yeah,
overwhelmed again.
Overwhelmed again, yeah. I went from all that nice feeling to these are kind of like more uncomfortable feelings that are coming out with that word stress.
Yeah. Body aches.
Body aches, yeah. You can feel it physically in your body when you're stressed.
Yeah. Tired and tightened muscles, worried, no time for me, lack of control, irritated, tiredness, headache, exhausted, anxiety, lack of appetite, tired and dragged out, fatigue.
So many things are coming in hard and fast there for a minute. Yes, so a lot of different things that that word means to you. And gosh, I'm just like, I'm feeling it in my body, that change from that positive stuff we were talking about to the stress. It just brings out this like physical reaction to me. So I'd love to dig into that a little bit more. We have a little video that I'd love you guys to watch. We're not going to stream it from here, but we have a QR code on the screen. If you have a cell phone or another device with you, you can just scan that QR code and the video should pop up. We're also going to put the URL in the chat box for you. So hopefully you'll be able to either click on it if we're lucky, or cut and paste that URL into a tab on a web browser. There it is. And this video that we're going to watch takes about 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Please go watch it. And when you're done, if you could just let us know in the chat box that you're back so we know when to get started. Let us know if you have any questions about how to do that, navigate that as well.
So I'm starting to see some dones in the chat.
Thank you. I was just thinking it was about time. Let's give people a couple more seconds to come back. Usually they'll start coming in hard and fast, those dones. Okay, so I might get started now. Does that feel all right? Laura, sorry, it's Laura, right?
It is, yep.
Okay, sorry. That was what was on the screen, but I was like, I hope I'm not calling you the wrong name. Awesome. Okay, so I thought that just the video was pretty interesting to me when we were talking about stress. A lot of us went to this place where it was really a difficult thing, which it is. But what I found interesting is how they're talking about how stress is, that we need it almost in a way. But it's also important to just have those coping strategies to manage that stress so it doesn't get overwhelming and your bucket doesn't get too heavy. I would love it if you guys could share with us if you had any thoughts or feelings or aha moments when you were watching the video about stress and how it affects your body. Please feel free to put it in the chat box. And Laura, I would love it if you could help out with reading some of those responses again.
For sure.
Thank you.
Makes your heart race, makes you tired, makes my eyes twitch.
That's the worst when you get that twitch in your eye. My forehead was twitching the other day. I was like, gosh, I must be really stressed.
When I'm stressed, I distance myself from family and get depressed.
I've noticed a couple things in the chat, it's Leah here, where people have said I can't access the chat, so I don't know if messages are showing up. If you're writing it in the question box, that's the same as the chat. So if you're writing it in the question box, it'll show up and we'll be able to see it. So don't worry about whether it's called chat or question, either one kind of shows up to us. So it'll get there.
Thanks for clarifying that. I can't see your responses, so yeah, I'm flying blind here.
I liked the idea that everybody's bucket is a different size. We need to be kind to everyone.
Yeah, it's such an interesting idea. Like we often would talk about bucket filling working with kids, but this is an interesting kind of play on the whole bucket analogy, that we all have these buckets that can carry so much stress. And even in this picture that you can see, the big strong man with the tiny little bucket and this woman with this big bucket, because she can really manage a lot of stress.
Depending on the kind of stress, it can sometimes make you work harder from somebody.
It can be a motivating factor, which is an interesting thing to think about. Like getting out of bed, there's certain stress hormones that are released to just so you have enough energy and the wherewithal to actually get up in the morning. Otherwise, you would just stay in bed all day. That's manageable stress, right?
It enhances my depression and anxiety in somebody. Lack of staying focused.
Yeah, when your bucket is full and you aren't able to practice those mindfulness and self-care strategies, it does get overwhelming and can turn into something that's really toxic and really difficult to manage. And it does for all of us. My twitchy forehead.
I get that too.
No good.
No.
Anything else in the chat box there, Laura?
Another one is, no matter the size of the bucket, you never know what people are going through, so always be kind.
So true. You never know what somebody's going through and what stress they're carrying and how that's affecting how they're being in the world.
Yeah. And then one more is just no voice.
I hope you're not feeling that way, that you have no voice, whoever you are. So I think this video kind of makes it clear that we all have stress, children and adults alike. We all experience stress, and it's so crucial for us to have positive strategies to help manage our stress. And that's essential to your mental health. Regulation, somebody else was talking about regulation already today, and regulation is the ability to return to a calm and ready to learn state after experiencing a change in our bodies or our emotions. And there's two types of regulation. There's co-regulation, and that's the support of another person to help us return to a regulated state. And there's self-regulation, and that's intentionally choosing activities to help us regulate independently. Now, as adults, we all have the ability to use both of these regulation types. We can co-regulate by getting a hug from somebody you care about, calling a friend when you need support, going for a walk with a friend. And we self-regulate all the time as well, by maybe closing the door if things are too loud, going for a walk with your dog, making yourself a nice cup of tea, or practicing some breathing exercises as well. In young children, self-regulation develops through repeated experiences of effective co-regulation. And they're going to co-regulate with us as their caregivers or maybe their parents. And in order for us to be able to help those children co-regulate, we really need to be able to be regulated ourselves. So once again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh, I should remember to change the slide. What does regulation look like for you? And how do you make sure that you're regulated throughout the day? We know that working with children can be a very stressful thing, and staying regulated when the children that we're working with are having a hard time can be difficult. So what are some things that you do throughout the day to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and staying regulated? And I need your help again, Laura.
No problem. Organization, just.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, you're speaking my language. My planner is totally how I regulate. I love putting everything in my planner and making sure it looks nice. I find that really relaxing, which is probably weird to some people.
I do, as long as it's not an endless list.
Yeah.
And then it gets overwhelming.
Ticking off a to-do list is super satisfying.
Yeah. Just think positive. Somebody likes to journal. Deep breaths. Laugh with my coworkers.
Wow, laughing is an awesome way to help you stay regulated and just release some good endorphins.
That's why it's good to have a dog when you're working from home.
Yeah.
Just
Totally
laugh at them.
Yeah.
I practice being mindful and open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
I meditate during part of my lunch break.
It's an excellent practice to have.
Um,
I try to do that too, but I'm not always successful, but tomorrow's always a new day.
I agree. Eat breakfast, stay as patient as possible.
Mm-hmm. Eating, that physical regulation, making sure that your body's nourished, that you're not getting hangry, making sure you're sleeping, you're getting enough sleep at night can really change your outlook on the day.
I agree. And that leads into the next one that says taking a nap during my break.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
I think that, like, especially when you're working with kids all day, every day, and you're around all this energy all the time, you just really need that, especially if you're an introverted personality, you really just need that time to just download and just go internally for a little bit.
Yeah. Things I should do, to eat, drink, fresh air, music. Make sure I take my breaks.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's tough.
Definitely. It is super tough. And something that I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Shelley Moore, but she says, don't shit on me and don't shit on yourself. So we're all humans, and it's a practice. It's not a destination. Self-care and mindfulness isn't something that you do once and you're good. It's something that you need to continually work at, remind yourself to take that time to do. And even just being here tonight is a step to kind of reaffirm, yes, I know I need to do these things. So what can I do tomorrow to what's like one thing I can do tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is me done talking now, and I'm just going to pass it over to Carolyn, and she's going to talk about some strategies with you.
Hi, everybody. How are you all doing tonight? So thanks, Julia, for that intro. I'm going to talk about why breathing is important, and when you're in doubt, breathe. So there are some proven strategies to help cope with stress and help with regulation by just breathing. So the first thing we'll talk about, obviously, is breathing. And why does breathing help? Well, breathing helps because it brings balance to your mind and your body. It helps you regulate and is effective in helping you deal with stress, anxiety, and anger. I know also in the moment too, I have two children. Sometimes I just need to take a minute and breathe, and it calms me down and centers me back into that moment and saying, okay, I got this. I can do this, So on the slide above or below, sorry, you'll see a couple of different just some options that you can use as examples of breathing exercises you can do yourself or along with your children at home or at work. And so the first one is a mindfulness breathing board. So you can find a ton of these on the internet. So if you go into Google and just write in breathing boards or breath boards, and you can see in the one on the screen, you just take your finger and you follow around and you do your breathing at the same time. So you would go to the first black spot and you breathe. Then you go to the next spot and you breathe. And then you just follow along. So it gives you something to focus on with your mind. The next one beside it is a square, and it's sort of similar kind of thing, is where you breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you go down the side of it and you hold it for 4 seconds. Then you go to the bottom of the square and you go 4 seconds and you breathe out. And then you go up the side of the square and you breathe it again. So it's another way of just kind of getting into that habit of being conscious of your breath and what it's like. There's a pinwheel on the screen along with bubbles, a mom or a caregiver blowing bubbles. Another idea is blowing the pinwheel, blowing the candles out. That's a good way of teaching your children and yourself to, breathe. So when they're really escalated and really high up here, taking a pinwheel and putting it in front of you and blowing on the pinwheel to try and refocus your brain. And then there's a book we've posted. There's tons of different books out there, but we found this one called Breathe With Me book, using breath to feel strong, calm, and happy. And it's by Miriam Gates. So there's some great ideas there, and yeah, just some ideas that you can use yourself, but also using with the children. So we're going to go to the next slide, and we have a URL code there that you can take a screenshot of. We're going to post the video in the chat as well. And we're just going to take a few minutes to practice using breath to help regulate and de-stress yourself. And this meditation is called a mindful breathing meditation, and it should take, I think, about maybe 2 minutes or so to watch. So I'm just going to let you go and take a few minutes, watch it, and then when you're done, come back and get done so that we can move forward.
Are they watching it?
Laura, if you can just let me know when they're back, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Just a reminder, if you can hit type in done in the chat or question box so that we know that you're back, that would be great. Okay, sorry, I'm getting some dones.
Awesome. We'll give them a few more minutes here and then we'll move forward. Okay, I'm gonna start to move forward, and if you didn't get a chance to fully watch it, please, you're welcome to do that on after this this webinar if you'd like. But it's a really good good practice for yourself, but also you can use this technique with your children in your care. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about, as we talked about in the last couple of slides, here are some more examples sort of what else you can do when you're feeling overwhelmed and your stress level is super high. You can do a number of these ideas with children again, or by yourself. So I'll just read it through the list. Mowing your lawn with a push mower, raking leaves. So that's a great activity to do with the children. Might be annoying if you rake the leaves and they jump in them, but it might end up being lots of fun too, right? Walking instead of driving your car. If you live closer to your work, maybe you can walk, or maybe just walking to the grocery store. Playing catch with your children, turning on your favorite music and dancing. Just before my husband left to go on nights tonight, we haven't really seen him very much all week, and it's been very stressful on me. And we had a dance party before he left. So that was really fun, and it was a really nice way to kind of lighten the mood a little bit for us. Cleaning up the garage or attic, washing your car by hand, gardening, house and yard work, walking the dog. Even at work, if you are on your lunch break, going for a walk, putting on a podcast and listening to that. That's a self-care technique for you to kind of calm down and get out of the space that you're in, right? Because work is hard and it's stressful and it's overwhelming sometimes. And so when you have those breaks, taking those moments to be mindful about all the things that we talked about at the very beginning in the Mentimeter, about all those things that you already have a baseline of things that you can be doing and trying out and see what works for you. There's also a book we posted here. It's called The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle of Burnout. And it's by the author is Emily and Amelia, and I'm going to mess up the name, but Nagoski, I think is how you pronounce it. It's Nagoski. So if anybody's interested in looking up that book, I can put it in the chat after. But did you know that physical activity is one of the best methods of fighting stress? Exercise helps you feel better by harnessing the body's natural fight or flight response rather than suppressing it. So exercising for at least 20 minutes a day can enhance your mood by releasing chemicals called endorphins, which relieve pain, increase a sense of well-being and relaxation. Exercise also helps relieve tension caused by muscle contractions. Exercise burns the energy that has been stored in our muscles, allowing them to return to their normal resting state after exercise is complete. And everybody thinks exercise is like, oh, I gotta do weights and I gotta run and all. It's as simple as the things up above or down below in the slide. Get up and move. It helps you return to a calm state and gets your mind out of that fight or flight mode. So we're gonna move on. And so we talked at the beginning of the presentation about why it is so important as a caregiver to be regulated and practice mindfulness and self-care strategies. If we are calm and centered, we are able to be there for children and families to help them when they need support. This also helps to recognize your relationship with the children and why it is so important and why you need to be regulated yourself. So you all have likely heard the airplane oxygen before. You put it on first before any family members or loved ones. The reasoning is if you don't help yourself, then you're no use to others around you. And it's absolutely true. If you don't put the mask on first, then you're not going to be able to help all the other people around you. And this is the same for, for mental health, is making sure that you're looking after yourself. Now that we have talked about a couple strategies to help you manage your stress, let's talk about why it's important as a caregiver to do so. Cognitively, we understand, but we are often sent messages by society that prevent us from properly doing this. Especially in our careers, or especially as women, we are often expected to be far more selfless than we are actually capable of being. So we're often seen as selfish if we don't sacrifice every drop of time and energy that we have for others. And knowing your own triggers, and one trigger could be that sometimes children's behaviors can push our buttons. So in our trainings for ASAP, we refer to an activity called hot buttons, or we talk about hot buttons. And hot buttons are when a child's behavior causes us to have a negative emotion about a child. For example, if a child hits another child, often it may push our hot buttons and cause us to have a negative feeling about that child. And we may feel frustrated with the child or want to avoid our child. We need to be aware of what our hot buttons and triggers could be so that we can examine our own feelings about those behaviors and the child, and find strategies to prepare for our feelings and be able to regulate ourselves properly when our hot buttons are pushed. And this goes for not just children, for adults, for coworkers, for anything. It can really put us in a spot where we start to taint people in a different way. And if we can just refocus our thinking and figure out, why are we acting this way and why is this a trigger? It might be because we're hangry. It might be because, we are stressed ourselves. We're going to move on to self-care strategies. And I was going to go through this, but we're getting short on time. So I am just going to go through these briefly. They are attached to the presentation, so you can have a look at them after, and I believe they're going to be available for you with the presentation after. So there's a couple of different ones. There's a signs of stress handout on the screen. There's an NCPMI self-care strategy form that is a checklist that you can print off and check off yourself. There's a taking care of yourself. And then there also, it's not on the screen, but it's attached, a universal self-care reflective question form that you can look at and just ask yourself these questions. It's really good to just get a sense of what triggers you, what frustrates you, why you are acting the way that you are, and so on. So we're just gonna end with a final quote, a takeaway quote. And our takeaway quote is, the best way to capture moments is to pay attention. This is how we cultivate mindfulness. And when I read this quote, it made me think about paying attention to my own signs and my own thoughts and my own behaviors and recognizing those, because that is the first step to changing, right? And it doesn't have to be a big step. It's just one small step. So if you can go back tomorrow and you go back into your program and you look and go, you know what, I react this way because I'm hungry at this time of day, that is a way of looking at a moment and paying attention to what is, you know, what is a trigger for me and why am I acting the way I am. So thank you so much for attending, and I hope you all got something out of this. And thanks again, girls, for inviting us.
Thank you,
Well, and thank you
Carolyn.
both so much for being here, and for sharing the strategies and for sharing those videos. Laura, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm guessing that we'll have all of the handouts and slides and everything up on the AC website with the recording when that comes up in the next couple of days. So all of the resources will be available when it goes up onto the website. Is that the easiest way to do it, Laura?
Yes, so they're also in the handout section as well. So you should be able to download them
awesome.
out of there. But yes, otherwise, when the recording goes up tomorrow, this will also be on there. So the same place where you went to register for this session, the recordings are also in there in a drop-down menu, and this will be in there along with links to the 4 handouts that these lovely ladies have shared with us.
Awesome, thank you. Well, we won't keep you for longer than the allotted time. We know time is precious, and as Julia and Carolyn were sharing, sleeping and resting are very important. So just a quick note sort of on our last slide of ways to stay connected, the AC website, of course. Certainly, as we mentioned before, giving feedback to the minister. She asked for specific feedback on things. I think now we have, you know, perhaps a really powerful snapshot of time to say what things would make the most difference, particularly for us as educators, as you know, as we ask for opportunities for, you know, around wage top-ups and all those other things that they're not quite sure how they're going to work. So, you know, I think this is a really important time for us to work together on that. And, you know, I was thinking about that as we were listening to the presentation and thinking sometimes just doing something or saying something can reduce some of that stress too, because uncertainty causes so much stress. And you know, that's kind of what I've been feeling as people that I've talked to, and for myself after listening to everything last week, just thinking like, okay, now we're in this like in between again, like what's next? I don't know. But sometimes just doing something. And so even just putting a couple of lines in an email to say, this is what's really important to me as an educator in Alberta. You know, that can be meaningful on both ends for you to say, all right, it's out of me and I've put it somewhere where someone can listen to it. And then for them, you know, as they read those to say, okay, here's what we know, what's actually coming from people who are doing this every single day. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. And like Laura said, the resources and recording and everything will be up there tomorrow. And yeah, we wish you a good night. Good night from me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.